Hi, it's Winter with the Barefoot Consultants. And let's see, I'm getting a little feedback here. Hold on one minute. There we go. I think we've got that fixed. Let me do one thing. Here we go. There. Okay. Today we're going to talk about 3 ways to find work. I'm still getting some feedback back. And so I think I have to add that to the stream. You see 2 versions of me. And then we go to a solo. Lots of gremlins in the system today. All right. Let me just check that out. All righty. So we're going to talk about 3 ways to find work-life balance as a 50-plus freelancer. Still having the gremlins. Settings. Audio. It's not letting me adjust this properly. Get that going again. Okay, can you hear that now? Okay, I'm going to take this off because it's a little confusing. We'll just dive right in without listening to my microphone and see how that works. Okay, it looks like that's okay. So today we're going to talk about 3 ways to find work-life balance as a 50-plus freelancer. And there's some interesting elements to that. I know that over the 14 years I've been helping people figure this out, that I know that there's a certain sequence that is helpful for me to go through and ask people about in order to do that. And so, Jeanette, thanks for that. I'm glad you can hear it okay, and there's no echo. I was getting a big echo. Don't know what that is, but as long as this works, we'll continue with that. So the thing to know about looking at this online work online world is the very first thing to decide if you want to work on a fixed time frame or a flexible time frame, and I'm going to explain that in just a moment here. You'll see because as a freelancer, I've found that people prefer 2 different styles, and probably 80-20, they prefer working on a flexible schedule. That's where you might get an assignment today and it's due in 10 days. And if you want to work on it in the morning before the world starts, you can do that. And if you want to work on it in the afternoon, uh, at the end of your day, you can do that. Or if you're a night owl and working at night is the best one for you, that can work as well. Now, most people that do this kind of stuff prefer the flexible. I would say about 80%. The fixed time is more for things like some customer service jobs where, say, you might cover a customer service shift or half shift. You might work 3 or 4 hours and it's at the same time every day, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that kind of thing. So it could go either way. It could be, but it's just on whatever schedule makes sense for you. And some of the reasons of the people that prefer this fixed schedule say that it helps them organize their day. They know they're going to do that bit of work every single day or every other day or whatever it might be, and they're just going to get it done. And that's going to be how they piece that together. And so that's a good strategy and to think about whether you want to work flexibly or not so flexibly. And so that's a way to think about that. The next thing to do is to decide how much money you want to earn a month. And when I talk to people, they immediately jump to $10,000 a month, and that's not the number I'm looking for. I'm looking for what's your sustainability number, and your sustainability number is really the number that when you combine things like maybe Social Security and a pension, or whatever other income you may have, with a number of income, an amount from freelancing, what would be that number that would help you be able to make that move to a foreign country, or just have that portable income that if you wanted to go visit the grandkids on the other side of the country and stay there for 3 or 4 weeks, that if you were able to earn that amount of money, you would be able to pay all your bills, get all that handled. And so that's kind of what I call a sustainability number. A lot of people I talk to about, you want to, as best you can, push off the length of time before you start drawing down your retirement savings, that kind of thing. So this is people that freelance. This is a real benefit to that, as they can really push that off many times, or at least minimize the amounts that they are drawing from their savings and give those things time to appreciate. So for most people, that might be, your freelancing thing might need to be in the $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, that when combined with your whatever other income you have is your sustainability number. And then there's things to talk about a margin of safety and that kind of thing, because you don't want to, have a surprise one month and be in an unsustainable position. But there's lots of good solutions. Once you figure out your sustainability number, that gives you a very doable number to focus on, to achieve as you get started with all this, and a great target, and I tell you that most people that said the target of $10,000 a month never make it. People that set their first goal at, say, $1,500 a month are much more likely to get there. And once you're there, you're going to be a whole lot smarter than you were at the beginning. And once you're there, you will see many other ways to raise your rates as a freelancer, do more complex jobs as a freelancer. There's all kinds of things that you can do to increase that earnings once you're there. But what I have found, it doesn't do much good to explain what those things are until somebody is working in an online system like Upwork or freelancer.com or guru.com or that kind of thing. The next thing that you want to take a look at is how to shorten your path to that first tiny, less than 3 hours assignments that you're going to do as you start to work on these global networks. And a real misconception on these global networks is somebody says, well, I was making $5,000 a month at my job. I want to turn over here and start freelancing, and I want to be making $5,000 a month. Doesn't happen that way. Very rarely do you pirouette from exactly what you're making to that or more on an online network, because it just takes time to build up your reputation. But the good news is it takes a relatively short time to build up your reputation on a network, because your client satisfaction with your work is visible to other potential clients. And that's a big boon. I remember going to work for companies, and my boss pulled me aside one day and said, you'll probably work here about a year and a half. And if you do a really great job, you'll get a promotion. But people want to see, what you're like to work with, what kind of job do you do, that kind of thing. And this was very early in my career. And I found that to be the case. Well, the great thing that happens on a system like Upwork is that, number one, every time you complete a job, typically somebody's giving you a rating, a 1 to 5 star rating, and they're writing in a little compliment about the work that you did for them. And the thing to know about that, first of all, because some people get a little crazy about this, is that it's easy to sustain a 5.0 as you get started. I mean, you have to deliver the work, you have to do a good job, but you can sustain a 5.0. But invariably, you're going to have somebody that gives you a 4 or 3 or something like that, a star rating. And any rating between 4 and 5 stars is excellent. People use those. Buyers, freelance buyers are perfectly satisfied to use anybody typically between 4 and 5 stars. And so that's why it makes sense. You can't get a star, a star rating until you finish a job. And that's why we recommend doing small jobs at first, so you can get a bunch of star ratings. It's pretty simple. And if your first job is a job that is a 3-month editing of a book, that takes a long time, and it's going to be a long time before you get that star. So that's an example of why you want to do those tiny little jobs. You're not so much concerned about your income on those jobs, although you don't want them to be jobs from bottom fishers, because they tend not to be the best raters in the world. They're basically concerned about paying the least price and spending the least amount of money and time on that job. You want to look for somebody who gives good recommendation ratings and writes nice things about you. And that's some of the things that we teach in our program. So in order to shorten this path, we make courses and training programs that help people become freelancers, as many of you know. And as you go through these courses, I've had many people say, well, I tried doing this on my own. I put about 40 to 60 hours into it, and I felt like at the end, I wasn't even close. And the difference was, I came into your program, I followed the step-by-step process, and all these sort of gray areas, these trial and error areas, were clarified for me. And I was able to ask questions on your Tuesday night call and get things further clarified. So my time frame was much shorter. I was able to spend much less time, and I got my profile up, and I learned how to do my keywords, and I learned how to select my jobs correctly, and I learned how to write proposals. And there's a formula for writing proposals, and we share several formulas for that. And in our programs, you get lots of good information like that helps you write a proposal very quickly. It helps you see the proposal process from the buyer's side and that kind of thing. And so these are all things that shorten your path. And we want to talk a little bit about the benefits that come from shortening your path. And the way I like to start is, let's say you're going to work on this system and you're going to work on it for the next 10 years. This is freelancing. This is something you can do. It can help offset your expenses. You're going to work on it the next 10 years. You might work, say 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week. You pick the number. You decide what that number is going to be. So if we pick, say $1,000, that's 12,000 a year, and then multiply that out over 10 years, that's $120,000. And for many people, that might be working 25% of the time. Most of our people that come into our programs are looking for that work-life balance. They're not looking to make $100,000. They're not looking for a 70-hour a week job. They want to have work 20% of the time, 25, 30% of the time, something like that. And so that begins to become a practical number. But even at $120,000 over the next 10 years, if you could invest a little bit on the front end to make sure you get started, that could be a good thing. And so one person was explaining to me that they estimated that they had spent 60 hours on trying to work online and gave up on it because it just was too complex. They found their way to our program, and they suggested that they did it in about 20 to 30 hours, that there's still work to do. There's still things to put in place and that kind of thing, but there's at least a process and a step-by-step, and you can ask questions and get help and come on our Tuesday night call and ask questions and that kind of thing. And they felt like they got where they were going much faster. And so their probability of realizing that $120,000 over the next 10 years is much more possible than just doing it on their own. And oftentimes people say, well, I think I'll try this on my own. And they do, and they just give up because they perceive it as too hard. And when people come through our program, they have a very clear next step. There's very clear checklist in terms of what to accomplish and that kind of thing. So they know what to work on next. They know the subtlety to it. They know how to answer the question. They know which educational events in their background to feature, which job skills in their background to feature, and that kind of thing. So that's very helpful for them. So there's that opportunity cost of, do I get started or not get started? And we all know where we are on that. I've paid for many courses in my lifetime that helped me accomplish things that I was kind of floundering around with without the benefit of a course or a seminar or some kind of training like that. So the idea of locking in solidly how to be a freelancer, getting a good profile, understanding the template process for writing proposals saves you boatloads of time and opportunity cost. This is something we talk a lot about in the decision to buy anything, really, is that if you come in and say, I want to freelance, and you start poking at it yourself and you spend maybe 6 months and then you give up, versus going through a program like ours and you're actually earning within a month or two, you've lost the revenue or you've gained the revenue that you would have in those additional 4 months. If you see that, you come in and you learn how to do it and you get your first job within a month or two, whatever it is. I mean, we have some people getting their first job within a week. So if you're ready to devote the time to go through the program and do the things that are in there, that can happen on whatever time schedule you want it to happen, but anytime realistically in the first month or two. And then you've got 4 months of earning that in the other scenario I described, where somebody is poking at getting set up and getting online for 6 months, they lose the revenue that would come from those 6 months. Or from 4 of those 6 months. There's the same learning curve at the front end, but there's this perception that I can figure this out on their own. I'll be completely candid. What the most common thing that people need with this is just the coaching, and this is where our Tuesday night call comes in and helps a lot. Is that we're answering questions, we're going over the material and training, and going into greater depth on our Tuesday night calls. And when people come into our programs, they uh, uh, get to participate in 52 of those calls every year. We do those every Tuesday night, and so that's a real adjunct to your ability to make it through this process. It's also an inspiration. And I found that when you set out to create your own personal income, you really need to be in a like-minded group. It accelerates your process so much, being in a like-minded group, that you're able to get out there and get going, and uh, y- you know eh, just feel the enthusiasm of other people making progress, solving problems, figuring things out. And that's really, in our world, what our Tuesday night call does a lot of. So lots of interesting ways to, sort of piece together your freelance career. But my experience is that you really want to come in and decide if you want to work on a fixed or flexible time, very important. And then you want to decide what's your sustainability number. What number combined with other income you might have? It could be the income you have from your current job. It could be the income you have from Social Security or pension or something like that. And then taking that and moving that into your sustainability number that would give you, with safety margins, the ability to make this decision in a more informed way about, when do I quit my job. This is up for people considering the great resignation. Lots of people are going back to work now. What you haven't really heard, because I had to dig pretty far down into the numbers to figure this out, is that 90% of the people that are taking part of the great resignation are 50 and above. And so, as I watched news broadcast and that kind of thing, I was thinking that this was mostly mid-career people, in their 30s and 40s, walking in and say, I ain't taking any more of this. And there are certainly some of those, but 90% of those are 50 and above. And just a little bit of uh, an indication of how the media doesn't really tell the whole story. And so it's a life decision at a pivot point, rather than it is people just randomly running back into the office and saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. So important thing to figure out. Let's see here. Uh, yes, and then number 3 is going to be this whole idea of deciding how you can shorten your path to that first tiny 3-hour assignment. And of course, we've got lots of ways to do that. We have online training programs, but one of the most powerful ones, something that we do once a year. Let me see if I can get this in here. Yes, there we go. This is an event we have coming up in St. Louis in April, late April, and this is we're in the early bird version of this right now. We're working with International Living to co-sponsor this event in St. Louis. And there are some people that go through our program. They buy the online program. They do real well with it. There are some people that buy the online program and they do coaching, and they do real well with that. And there are some people that really like the idea of going someplace in a weekend and getting it all done. And that's what this event is all about. You can read about it there, and happy to answer questions about it here in the chat as we go forward. But lots of good stuff comes out of that. The way the weekend works is you come in on Friday night. You don't necessarily have a profile on any system. We teach you how to write the profile. I have my team of coaches there, so we're walking around giving coaches individual attention to this. We go through the entire process of setting up your profile, learning how to search for the ideal assignments online, and learning how to propose so that you can do those assignments. And we teach you all of our bidding strategies for our 7-step step template that really shortens the process of writing proposals. The great news about proposals in this world is that they're between 1 and 2 pages. Basically, they're very short, most of them a page, less than 250 words if you're typing that out in Word. So lots of good ways to get that. And of course, what I like about this, and I say this after having been to my first our first live event in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. It was so energizing to be out in the world, and we were still wearing masks, and everybody at this event had to be vaccinated, and so there's a few restrictions on things, and we were socially distanced, much bigger rooms than ever before and that kind of thing, but that's kind of the way things are working today. And and even as I was leaving Las Vegas, they dropped the requirement to wear masks in the casinos and that sort of thing. So apparently things are moving in the right direction so much that they can do that. And certainly since I've got back, we see lots of states and countries around the world dropping mandates and that kind of thing. So we're imagining here as we sit in the middle of February, basically, that by the time we get to April, that a lot of those things will have disappeared, and it'll be more like the conferences that we've been able to go to in the past. But just the pure fact of being in the room with all that good energy around freelancing, and you're hearing all the questions that other people are asking that you may not have thought to ask, but once you hear the answer, you realize that's something you really would like to know. It's just such a good event, and we're able to spend personal time. We're all set up, so you've got your laptop there, you've got your power connection to plug into, you're connected to the wireless internet, and you leave this event with all that stuff put together. And so that's a great way to do that. So would just encourage you to take a look at that event, see if it's something that it makes sense for you to attend. Happy to answer any questions about that, either here or in the chat on the replay, as many of you know that participate in this from time to time. Our Facebook Fridays, that most of the people that listen to this actually listen to it on the replay. So about 95% of them. And so 95% of you, and we love you, are listening to the replay. And so just know that if you have a question, just pop it in the chat and we'll answer that question for you. So with that, I want to wrap things up today. Hoping you have a great weekend. Looking forward to seeing you next week. We're doing our Tuesday night call, our Facebook Friday. We have trainings for people in some of our different programs on Wednesday night as well. So we look forward to seeing you next week. So have a great week freelancing. Take care.